Well, hello, everybody. I'm everybody is connecting right now. So I think I'm going to start. First of all, I want to thank the New York City Department of Education for giving me this opportunity to be here and talk for a while about my first graphic novel, Just Another Story. First, I hope you understand me because my English is not that great. And also, I want to apologize because maybe a cat will come here to say hello. But I hope he's good. He's a nice boy. Okay, my name is Ernesto Saad. I live in El Salvador. Right now, I am in Paris. I'm on vacation, but I couldn't left this opportunity behind to be here and talking to you about my graphic novel. So I'm going to I'm going to talk a little bit about myself for you to know me in my professional history. I born in El Salvador, as you know. I lived there, and in 2012, I graduated with a degree in architecture. But a few years later, I decided to change my career, and now I'm dedicated myself to writing and drawing graphic novels. I always like to draw, so I am very happy that now I'm living through drawing and telling stories. That was a flash biography. After the presentation, I will give you a space to make some questions that you like. But right now, I think we are going to start the presentation about my new graphic novel, Just Another Story. Okay. I think that I want to tell you about the intra story of the comic. That is a big story at itself. So to begin this presentation, I consider it interesting to know the long road that Just Another Story had to travel before being published with Lerner Publishing Group. This is my publishing house. They are from Minneapolis. All what I'm about to tell you is directly linked to the beginning of my career as a comic book author. Okay, so everything started 2007. That is the year in which everything that is in my comic happened in the real world, I guess. And my aunt and my cousin, due to serious financial problems, they decided to leave everything in El Salvador, and they start a new life. And they were looking to start a new life in the United States. So when I realized what was happening, they had already been gone for days. They didn't say goodbye to anybody. So that took me by surprise. And that meant a hard blow for me, since I couldn't say goodbye. And furthermore, my cousin and my aunt they are very important people to me. My cousin is like a brother, and my aunt, she's like a second mother to me. So, okay, so it is not a secret to anyone that take the trip from the journey from El Salvador to the United States illegally is a potential death sentence. So all the weeks that the journey lasted, we and my family, we were very sorry, that was a very difficult period for us. And we always were thinking about that the worst could happen. That was the idea was surrounding our heads every time. However, from time to time, my aunt called us to let us know they were okay. But one day, my worst fears began to come true. Because my mom got a call from some people who asked her for money in exchange for I don't know how to pronounce it, like liberating my cousin and my aunt because they were kidnapped. They had been kidnapped when they had just arrived in the United States. So they went all the way up to Mexico, and when they arrived in Texas, they were kidnapped by the coyotes. So, so my mom got a call from some people who asked her for money in exchange for realizing them. This was a nightmare. That nightmare lasted a few days, but in the end, everything turned out well. And finally, my cousin and my aunt reunited with my family over in in America, and the whole family were relieved. So this was the story that is told in my comic, but that was the story from my perspective, how I live it. Those were days full of fear and anguish, and I can't even imagine what it was like, what it was like for my cousin and my aunt that they lived that nightmare firsthand. So we come to 2008. That year, the following year after the journey of well, that's me. I used to have a lot of hair. Now I'm a little getting bald. Yeah, but well, thank you for everybody that is telling me beautiful words in the chat. So, but I'm going to continue. Um, the following year in 2008, I took the first opportunity I had. I had to travel to the United States to visit my cousin and my aunt. So I'm going to be talking, but I'm going to be showing you some images of the comic so you can have a little preview. So, well, it was during that trip when for the first time I spoke with my cousin about everything that had happened on his journey. They were those were a really casual conversation. He told me only the events that he thought might be interesting to me. So he didn't go into many details. And I didn't want to ask him more either because I thought he may be a little traumatic, like a trauma in his head, Um, on the other hand, my aunt, she never talked about that, about what happened. So she was still very scared, and she preferred to forget everything. Okay, then although these are the first sketches I draw like 15 years ago about the comic. I saved them and I'm showing you for the first time. So although we did not talk in depth about what they experienced a year before, those first talks left in my mind the idea of wanting to do something with the story, because I felt like it was like a movie, you know. So since I always have loved reading, and I thought that what my cousin experienced could become a book, but at that time everything remained just in my mind, like just like a vague idea that someday I would like to do something uh, with the story. So we are arriving a little further in time, and we are now from 2009 until 2015. If you can see the yellow arrow, that's my foot. Uh, that's because after that visit to my cousin, I returned to El Salvador, and I continue with my studies in architecture. And I finished it in 2012. Um, okay, then I worked in a construction company until 2015. That was when I decided that construction was not for me, and I decided to look to change my career for something related on illustration. It was difficult because I really like architecture, but in El Salvador, I was almost always working with numbers, and I wanted to be designing. So I get tired, and I say, okay, you know, I drop in all this, and I will change my career. So in 2016, uh, I ended up enrolling in the illustration and comic master degree at Elizaba. That's the Barcelona School of Design and Engineering. So the final project of the master was the development of a comic book. And without thinking, I decided that this comic would be based on my cousin's story. So uh, one well, this is I wanted to show you some of uh, my inspiration. I think it's important for you to know that because sometimes my way of drawing is based in a way of this author. So the one I love since I was a kid is Bill Watterson, Calvin and Hobbes. I really love those comic strips. And also, there is um, the Paco Roca. He's a Spanish author. Also, Frederick Peters. He's a really good comic. You can go look for them. Also, Marianne Satrapi, I think you all know her from Persepolis. And also, Alan Moore is a really great inspiration for me. So, continuing, okay, these images are the first version of the story of my cousin. This is what I did in the master, in the final project of the Master of Illustration and Comics. Um, the we have a limit of 16 pages minimum to make the comic, but I went crazy and I do 100-page comic. So it was a really hard 6 months for me to make it this comic, but because I really love the story, I wanted to make the best of myself to doing it. So the first comic I did about my cousin story. The name was Mojados. That is like the name in English is wetbacks. That you know when the immigrants go into the river, and I think that's why they call them wetbacks. You know. So okay, this comic was most of the story it was fictional because I just have a little pieces of the story. So I make like a version with the fictional characters, and some of the things that happen in this comic are the things that my cousin told me to. So the comic tells many of my cousin's real experiences, but the story is very simplified. It only focuses on the trip and the journey and doesn't go further into the drama that he and my aunt experienced before uh, deciding to make the dangerous journey to the United States. So we are going now uh, to 2017. Now, this is 10 years later from the first reunion with my cousins. So after I finishing my master degree, I went to visit my family again in the United States. We were in that photo. We were in Yosemite. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it good, but okay, it's Yosemite. I don't know. And well, uh, so during that trip, I already had in my mind my desire to publish my cousin story, but I knew that I had to be more faithful to the real deal. So I asked my cousin to tell me the complete testimony of everything he and my aunt experienced 10 years before of 2017. So, so that's how Just Another Story was born. This is the story before I went into the comic. So after all that story, that I hope you liked it, I'm going to walk you um, in the creation process of my graphic novel. And now that we know the entire background, I think that I would like to show you the entire process that creating a graphic novel requires. And I will clarify that this process is very personal. Each author has their own process, but this is one that has worked for me so far. So, okay, this is the first step. The first step is the interview. That's how I had the story. The this time at that in 2017, I interviewed my cousin with the goal of adapting his testimony into a graphic novel. Over right now, I already had the goal that I knew what I wanted to do. So this time, I didn't want to make a fiction inspired by my cousin story. Now I wanted to tell the real thing, you know. So, excuse me. Okay, this is how we had a long conversations. where my cousin told me in great detail, because he remembered everything. He told me everything he had experienced, and not only during the journey, but also all the previous drama, which is already quite a story, not just the journey. So during that long interview, my cousin says something that got stuck in my head. He told me this, do you think people would want to read this? What happened to me is just another story. There are thousands of people who have experienced worse things than me. That is a really hard thing to say. So in addition to giving the title of my comic, this phrase made me reflect on the great importance that this type of testimony has. So, you know, the migration problem in El Salvador is a phenomenon present that has been present over there practically since the colonial times. So historically in El Salvador has suffered a number of events that expel the population from their homes. The extermination of the indigenous population, massive displacements of peasants to the cities first, then displacement due to war and disaster caused by natural phenomena. And more recently, we had the huge problem with the gangs, with the maras, you know, and so on, so on, so on, so on. There's a lot of problems that expel the Salvadorians to other countries. So this is a graphic. Nowadays, we have access to statistics and studies that help us analyze this phenomenon. And this graphic, you can see, is a record for migrant statistics in the last 30 years, from 1990 to 2017. As you can see, it is evident that the trend is upward. So the problem doesn't stop. Okay, this is another graphic. In the graphic, we can see the number of Salvadorians who migrate irregularly and are intercepted at the southern border of the United States. This is just the ones they are intercepted. So although you can see a decrease in 2023, since 2007, the count of migrants, the Salvadorian migrants, is done by the thousands. You know, it's a really big problem. You know, this is a cipher, a number. In 2021, there were an estimate of 1.4 million people born in El Salvador that they are residing in the United States, according to the American Community Survey. There's a lot of Salvadorians, you know. I think a lot of Salvadorians are watching me right now. And this is just to show you that we have everybody in El Salvador. We all have family in the United States. So you can see that everybody has a story, a personal story, and everyone's story is important, and everybody's story is important because it's represent every number. It represents one life, so it's not just a number. Every number is a story. So this data show us that the phenomenon of migration is a problem that continues to exist, and that every year thousands of people make the conscious decision to leave everything behind in search of better opportunities. So this is a photo of one of the latest caravans. I know if I say it properly, but there's a lot of people from Honduras, from Guatemala, and El Salvador who travel together to through Mexico to get to the United States. So this is something that the figures do not show. Is the numbers, the statistic, they don't show the human drama. They show the human drama that lies behind all these studies. So people who live a reality in El Salvador that pushes them to the limit of deciding between staying and risking their lives in search of vague hopes of better life in the United States. So, you know, you can see the difficulty of making this journey. I will show you something, a map. Okay, this is a map. So you can see the difficulty to make that trip. This is in the left, you can see the path my cousin and my aunt took to get to the United States in the side of the Gulf of Mexico. And then the other side, we can see a map that shows the different routes that migrants take. As I said, my family took the so-called Gulf route. Sorry. But here in this graphic, you can see all the routes, Central and the Pacific route, and they are all really, really dangerous. Okay, let me see. This is how each person is a story. That's what I was telling you before. They are not figures for a graph or a report. They are lives as valuable as you or mine. Therefore, all their stories are valuable. Non-story is just another story. So, after telling you all a little bit about the problem that we are living in El Salvador, I will continue with my process of making the story. So the next stop is the script. This is a photo of one of my scripts. The important thing about this stage is the teamwork, since this is where my editor at Lerner Publishing Group, they read the several drafts of the script, and working alongside my editor was very rewarding, because as I learned a lot, and the exchange of ideas was excellent to end up with a better script. So the funny thing is that I have to write the script in English. I speak Spanish, but because the publishing group was in the United States, everything has to be written in English. And then for the Spanish version, they have to translate it. That's a curious thing. So then we have the storyboard. This is one photo of each one of these little squares are one page of the comic. When the approved, after the script is approved, it's time to develop the storyboard. So for me, I think this is the most difficult stage, because it's difficult. It is difficult because this is when I have to adapt the written script to images. And for that, I have found that drawing the scenes in miniatures is a technique that makes me work much easier. Drawing in miniature helps me to avoid focusing on detailing the drawing, and that way I only think about the scenes, the composition in broad strokes. So okay. Furthermore, the drawings are so small that I don't mind erasing entire page. And I doing several composition tests. So this is how, when I finish in the storyboard, each page is the result of many tests. So when I'm making the final art, I practically don't change anything that I previously drawn in the miniature. I give you a moment to see these painful lines. That took me a lot of time, but it's a fun work to do. So this in this image you can see some example of the translation from the storyboard to the final art. It's almost the same. I barely some changes, but you can see that after many composition tests, I get to the to the final art composition. So after the storyboard, this is the final stage. This is the the final art. Okay, the final art. This stage for me is the easiest part. It's not in the sense of the amount of work, but it's when I no longer have to strain my brain, I only have to worry about producing pages. All the before is like a lot of mental working, so it's very tired. And in this stage, the only thing that is tired is my hand and my back. So next, I will show you a page of my comic at each stage of the process of the final art. So first is the line art. The first step is manual work. I made all the pages in pencil, and then they were inked with Indian ink. So you can see the two images, first with the blue pencil, and then with the ink, I have a little brush. So these are over here, these are my drawing supplies. This is I really use a little number of supplies, just my brush, my pencil, my blue pencil, and the ink and an eraser. And then the page size, they are like this big. I have to make it that way because that's how it's easier for me to to draw. So let me see. Okay. After I finish the process with my hands, I have to digitalize the handwork. So when I finish drawing, I scan all the pages, and then in Photoshop, I separate the white background of the page from the line art. And also I fix some imperfections and mistakes. This is the important thing about the blue pencil, because in Photoshop, when I scan it, it's easy for me to take off all the blue line, uh, all the blue lines that I don't want to use, because if I use a regular pencil, it confused with the black of the ink. So that's why I use a blue pencil or a color pencil. So sometimes I use red. So this is the page that is digitalized, yeah, with the corrections, and I put also the lettering. All that I make it in the computer. So then after the digitalization, there is a base color. I get to the color stage where I apply a base color in which I separate the characters from the background and highlight the elements of interest. So then the effects. I apply shadows, lights, and textures, so the page look more alive. I really like this stage because it allowed me to play with the sensation. I wanted to I want to the illustration communicate if the characters feel scary, or they are or if they are afraid, or if they are, what are they feeling. I wanted to the color to tell you, to show you those feelings, and not just the text. So that's why if you see the comic, you will see a lot of changes with the colors, depending the feeling the characters are having. So um, after I finish the all the arts, it's time to the comic design and printing. When I have finished all the artwork, I have to send to my editor to a final review. And then in the case of the Lerner Publishing Group, they have a person who is in charge of designing the book. She also worked alongside me throughout all the entire process, and from the development of the storyboard. She Athena, that's her name. She provided me with everything I needed to make my work easy. So everything I show you before. Uh, I'm always working with my editors. In Lerner, I work with Greg and Athena, and they help me a lot to not to everything go. That work is so much work that anything can go wrong. So they are always looking for me and helping me to that at the end everything goes super good. and and so I think that the book is beautiful. uh, the final product is a really good. So this is it, the final product. This is a work that started in 2008, a lot of years ago. This is right now the work of my life, but it's the first. I think it's going to be the first of many books. learner, they publish it simultaneously in Spanish and in English. And right now, the book has been a success because the soft cover comic has been sold out. So they are making right now the second edition. So this is a good thing, and hopefully I would like to uh, decide to you to enjoy the book and maybe to know the story of my cousin. So I think this is it. I don't know if I have more time, but if you have some questions, I would be happy to answer the questions. So let me see. Any somebody is asking me if I have more books. Uh, there is a lot of people writing, so if I miss your question, I'm sorry in advance, but about more books. So I do, I have previously I work in an ONG in El Salvador, and I make uh, a number of books about social interest cases in El Salvador. So they are public. You can go to my Instagram account. That is, I'm going to write it here because I failed to. I'm going to write it in the chat. In my Instagram account, there is a link, and you can see all my previous comics. But this is my first comic that I published in like but with Lerner, I have two more in the way. The comic that is going to be released in 2025 is about the civil war in El Salvador. So the number is the name is going to be Redstones, and it's about a massacre that occurred in civil war in the 80s in El Salvador. So, and then the third book is going to be also about the Civil War, but since Redstone is the work in the countryside, the next book is going to be the work in San Salvador. So it's going to be like two different kind of story. So let's see another question. I wanted to write the Instagram again, so you can copy it. It's Saade Ernesto. There I write it in the chat box. Okay. Hello. Thank you for following me. Thank you for all the nice messages that you are writing me in. Y gracias a todos los que me están escribiendo en español. También los estoy leyendo. Todo va muy rápido, pero si tienen, if you have another question, I'd be glad to answer you. So Wow, it's fast. Let's see. I don't know if he's an attendance for this presentation. So, okay. Yes, as I said, my book is available in Spanish. The name is Una historia más. Learner, they print simultaneously in English and in Spanish. You can see right here in this image. So, and another good news is that on September the book is going to be also in French. That's why right now I'm in Paris. Here is like 5:30 in the afternoon, and I have a reunion with a editorial that they are going to print the comic in French. So to all the French speakers, you can be you can also um, buy it and see from. I think it's going to be published in September. Thank you. Merci. There is a question if I do visits to school uh, to schools to inspire students. Well, in El Salvador, I visit some schools to talk about my work. But in the United States, I think that I would have to planificate that with my editorial, with my publishing house, with my publishers in Lerner. So if you want some visit or video calls, you can speak with them through them with the Lerner publishing group. The information is and you can look for them in the web. So I'd be glad to speak for with in any group. If you invite me, it would be great for me to share all of this again. Is a Lerner publishing group. Yes, thank you for every word. I don't know if I have more time. Maybe the co-host tells me.
Yeah, I need to close this webinar now. The next speaker has joined, so we need to start the next session soon.
Okay, so I think this is over. Thank you everyone for listening to me, and you have been great. And thank you again. And yes, goodbye.